So today's video, I'm flipping my headset. Luckily both bearings are the same, but King will be upside down. Essentially, I've had this headset for a long time, about around 17 years, rode on my BMX bike back in the day, and yeah, it's indexed, so when the bars are straight, it's, yeah, very indexed, and yeah, starting to feel it while riding, which is a little bit concerning now because I've always liked to ride my headset a hair tight, but just want to make sure that it doesn't actually stick, and unfortunately I will crash. So I'm going to flip it, and theoretically having the bad bearing on top will not be as drastic, as well as I'm going to probably run the top cup sideways, or a little bit off, so the indexing won't be as bad. Essentially trying to not have to replace it because I like the fact that I've had this one for such a long time. So yeah, here's a video on doing that. So we are halfway through, headset's out, it's down there, as you guys could see. Cleaned it off, used the proper tools to actually get the stuff out. I know if you're doing this, not everyone's going to have the proper tools, but I definitely think it's a good investment. Essentially, bearing or the cup remover that you just saw, I've had for probably longer than I've had the headset. And then, yeah, obviously the hammer's pretty new, but the bearing press that, or the cup press that I'm about to reinstall it with, I've had for probably longer than the headset as well. Good tools to have, and if you're careful and detailed, and you can help people out and actually essentially make back the cost of the tools that you're doing. But yeah, halfway through flipping the cups, I would potentially service the bearings. Right now, don't have a great amount of time, just with we're going over to my dad's in a little bit, so trying to get this completed and ready to go, because I will be riding home and will be making another video about that. But yeah, let's keep going. Another thing to remember too is I always stand behind quality stuff, so fill hubs, fill bearings, and fill grease always. And I use a paintbrush so my greasing can be detailed. But yeah, keep going. So a lot of little detailed things that I'm doing that not necessarily talking about, just due to the fact of holding a phone and trying to use both my hands and them getting greasy, and using the GoPro as a time lapse though. But essentially making sure King is as straight as possible. And then also, before I pulled out the bad cup, I put a piece of tape over the King that was facing outwards, so now I know to put that on the side. The only thing is, if I put it directly on the side, the King is not going to be lined up correctly. So with me being pretty OCD, I'm going to just turn it one king to the side and yeah, see how that works and hope for the best. So, like I was saying, ended up just staggering it off the hair a little bit. So, yeah, um, the indexing should not be directly front to back now. When I do a sharper right turn is when the worst index part should be, but theoretically with it being on top and on the side now, that it's not going to be as drastic anymore. But of course I won't necessarily know until I get out and ride. So another thing that I see people not doing, which is just a personal preference that I do, is once you get the headset all, or the fork in, headset all set, is I actually take a rag and wipe any grease that's on the steer off. So theoretically, you're not having lubrication there for potentially the stem twisting. Bars back on, spacers in the correct way, and yeah, now I'm going to use a torque wrench. This one is from Bontrager, just very handy. They only come with, well actually all of them come with a 4mm. There's only two different kinds, which I will show you real quick. So I just showed you the red one. They have a black one. The black one is 6.8 Newton meters. It's a preset, so it's only going to be that. And then the red one is 5 Newton meters. So 5 is going to be good for your stem bolts. And when you do your compression plug for your headset, it's actually rated for 4. So typically I do it almost to the point that it's going to click, but not actually clicking it. And yes, it's just something that I've gotten used to feeling since I always use these, and obviously bike mechanic for many years. So yeah, I have a collection here with different bits in them, but yeah, let's keep going. Now we are done flipping the headset. Everything's back together, torqued, and King is upside down. So thus far, it feels better. Like I said, with it being as old as it is, index isn't going to go completely away, but it's still there a little bit. But as you can see, it does still spin. Yeah, didn't torque the headset down too tight. Essentially going to ride it later today, and hopefully everything will seal in, and potentially won't even need to tighten it after that, because I did tighten it pretty good. One way that I try to see if a headset's too loose is just hold the spacers and try to turn it as tight as, or hold it as tight as possible and try to turn it. If it doesn't turn, typically the headset's tight enough, but also that doesn't work if the headset's too tight, because obviously you're not going to be able to spin them. But yeah, always clean your tools after working too. Just make everything tidy and ready for next time. And yeah, just take your time. Like, be detailed. That's one thing that really strive to do is just be detailed and make sure everything's nice and crisp. Actually need to wipe the grease off of the cups where it pressed into the frame, but other than that, we're all set. So I will see you guys out on the road later, and yeah, hope you like this video. If you do, give me a thumbs up. If you have any questions, comment below, and as always, give me a subscribe. So I'll see you guys later on.